with me is Dr. Marco and Sue. Dr. Marco is a law professor and Sue is a regional consultant on cybercrime. So good morning to both of you. Welcome to Daybreak Grenada.
Good morning.
Good morning and thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming in. Now, Dr. Marco, I'm going to start off. You wrote a book. Tell me about this book. What is this book about?
It's a book about cybercrime. Cybercrime is happening more and more often. You know, societies are getting connected, people are using the internet, and there are crimes happening on the internet just like they happen outside the internet. Many people are not aware, they're quite confused when things happen. They get an email and they don't really know what it is about, and it might contain a malicious software, so they need to know a little bit. But not only the people need to know, but also the policemen need to know. And the book I wrote is more for legal professionals. It's telling them how cybercrime works, what is happening, but also the legal response to it. You know, what does the international community do? How do you draft a provision that would deal with this kind of conduct? Okay. And how do you investigate the crimes? Okay.
From what I understand, I mean, this book is the book that is referenced by... It's considered the Bible on cybercrime, from what I understand.
Well, I wrote it for the ITU, the International Telecommunication Union, which is a UN body. Okay. And it is therefore translated into all UN languages and is available for free on the UN website, and therefore it's used. But it's not sold on Amazon, so it's not the money thing, but it is a lot of people are using it. Right. Exactly.
Okay. But still extremely important book. So, I mean, what is your role really with the ITU? Was it as a consultant in writing this book? Did you write the book and then call them up and go, "Hey, I've got this. You need to read it"?
No, actually, they approached me and asked me if I could write something, because they saw the ITU is doing a lot of capacity building work with developing countries. They have more than 190 member states. And they're very active. They're also very active here in the region with the smaller countries. And they said, we need a capacity building tool, and could you please help us to develop this? And we're actually here within another capacity building initiative of the ITU, co-funded by the EU. So it is not only the theoretical work that they would give you a guide and you can read it at home, but they also do work on the ground, and this is what we're here for.
Okay. And then so you work with the ITU as well, or you work through a different body, or is your consultant?
Okay, I'm an attorney at law in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Okay.
And I am currently on this mission. I am the regional consultant for ITU with regard to this HipHop project. Okay. So I'm not just a regular attorney, I'm also into the whole IT and telecommunications law, which is where my master's is.
Okay. Well, I mean, we're talking about cybercrime. Can you tell us a little bit what some cybercrimes are? What are the more common ones, that I suppose the biggest ones, and then the ones that the everyday people are dealing with?
Well, let's put it this way. We know cybercrime ever since computers were connected to the internet. So in the very beginning it started. So as soon as computers were connected, people started to get into another computer system without rights. So they wanted to see, can I get into? Which remains a very common crime. You know, you see your neighbor's network and it's password protected, and people just say, hey, I'd like to try to break in. So there are these crimes against computer systems. But we also see that websites have been taken down. So websites become very important for businesses. You don't have a store in the high street anymore, but you do everything online. And when your shop comes under attack, you can't operate anymore. You can't make money anymore. So this is a crime that we're facing a lot. We call it denial of service attack, and it's directed against the functioning of a computer system. We see data interference. That is, for example, when you receive a computer virus. I guess most people that watch the program now who have a computer system have discovered this. So they have been victim of a crime already, which shows that this is not a crime that is theoretical. It might happen in a few years, but it has already reached the small islands. And it goes on to areas like identity-related crime, where people use your credit card details and purchase things online, or illegal content, which is indecent material, child pornography, and things that are heavily traded over the internet. So we see a whole range of offenses, not only just one or two, but it covers a lot of offenses. And societies need to prepare for it. They need to protect against this crime, but the lawmaker needs to develop a framework. They will say, okay, this is illegal, this is legal, and if something like this happens, what can the police do? How can they investigate the crime?
So that's what this initiative is really about. It's identifying what these crimes are and then how to actually deal with them. Is that right?
Well, what has happened is that the HipHop Project is operating within this region. It's also in the Pacific states and the African states. within this region, what we're trying to do is to harmonize legislation. So there are 15 territories within the CARIFORUM makeup. So within Grenada, at this point in time, because Grenada is really trying to move towards utilizing more of ICTs, they are trying to ensure that they have the proper framework in place. And one of the starting points, or the pillars of that sort of society right now, is to ensure that you have legislative framework that covers things like cybercrime and also electronic evidence. Because even if you have that framework where you can investigate the crimes and you're able to prosecute, if you're not able to use the evidence in court, then it really comes to naught. So what we're actually doing in this initiative here, and we're almost at the end, is to draft the legislation. We had consultations in February, and we met with different stakeholders from law enforcement, the drafters, the ISPs, and some other persons, I think, from customs as well. So we had feedback from them, and what we've done now is basically draft legislation which will be handed over to the government. And we're here at this time to meet with other stakeholders, some of the same stakeholders and some other ones, to sort of validate the legislation that we've drafted. So right now, there is legislation drafted that deals with cybercrime, interception of communications, and electronic evidence. So that is really our purpose at this time in Grenada.
Okay. And how soon are you hoping to hand over this draft legislation to the government?
That legislation should be in Grenada within the next few months.
Okay.
So you're not very far away from having your legislative framework and your policies as well in place. So once it goes to the government, then it's yours and it's up to you to do what you will with it.
Okay, all right. And yeah, so it's just government to implement it
exactly
at our own pace. But this is a regional thing. This is happening throughout the other islands as well, or is it predominantly in Grenada?
No, it's a regional initiative. We have 15 beneficiary countries here in the region. Sue already mentioned that there are also African countries that are involved in sister projects, and small Pacific islands. But here we have 15 in the region, and some of them have already moved ahead and have already started to implement it. So actually we're handing over the documents right now, so the government will get them right now when we're leaving tomorrow. And then it takes a period of time to implement it. But the Prime Minister opened the last conference, and he was very enthusiastic about the use of ICT in the country. The basic idea is now to develop a framework that you would have certain rules and procedures in place. So if a hotel, for example, receives a booking online and people don't show up, that they would be able to say, okay, hey, you need to pay. We have e-transaction. So we have regulations that say you can make a contract online and it's valid. Without this law, you might go to court and say, I'd like to have my money for the room now, but you will never be able to end up anywhere because they don't accept this as evidence.
Oh, really? Okay.
So there are a couple of things that need to be implemented. You're already using it, but a couple of things need to be done, and also protect the society. You know, it's like somebody, you sit on the beach, you see your bike next to you, somebody comes across and just takes your bike, and you say, hey, wait a moment, that's my bike. And you ask the policeman, can you please stop him? That's mine. And he would be able to say, sorry, we don't have a law for this. He can take it. And a couple of these things are currently in place on the internet. It happens that law enforcement can't do anything. But now we would like to develop a framework. And the framework is in line with international standards. So you will be able to closely work with the US, where a lot of people have Facebook and Google and all of their things hosted there, so that you can work with those countries as well as European and African and everywhere.
Right. Now, I mean, you mentioned that cybercrime, it started when computers got hooked up to the internet and to networks. It's relatively new as far as crimes go. You mentioned that crime, you talked specifically about one, that it wasn't a theoretical crime, it was happening. I'm guessing that there's crimes that we're thinking people could start doing but haven't done yet. What sort of crimes would that be, or is that, you don't want to give people ideas?
Exactly. No, you don't want to get people ideas, but that basically, because we have so many internet users, and some are just trying to do this kind of stuff. We know a lot about what is happening. There's not really that much new that we see. What we currently see as a new and threatening trend is the involvement of states in this. So before it was just, you know, the regular hacker that was doing something that was breaking into a computer system. But we now see state involvement. We see that conflicts are moving online, and that within an armed conflict, for example, you see also attack against computer system. We see that terrorist organizations are looking into this, and they're not only using the internet for sending out emails, but they're finding out information about the targets. They're using service like satellite pictures to check out what is the target like. There you have instructions. You can find instructions on the internet about how to build bombs, sort of chemicals that you can buy in a supermarket. So these are things that are very scary that we also need to look into. But before that is done, the first thing you need to do is you need to develop a framework to deal with the regular things that are happening on an everyday level. And they're happening in the country right now. So when we're speaking to people, we always ask them, have you been victim of a cybercrime? And most of the people will respond, yes, we have. Either we've had a virus, or people broke into my network, it was corrupted, or I had the impression somebody was intercepting with my communication, and things like this.
Okay. And so for the everyday person, regular user at home, how does this affect them? Is there somebody that they can go to when there's crimes now and report this sort of thing? You can actually go down to the police station and say...
That's the point. You know, if you now go to the police station and report it, I don't want to say anything bad about the police, because we had the police here. They're very encouraged. They're really enthusiastic about it, and they want to do something. But when you go down and report a crime that is not in your books, they will not be able to help you. So we do two things. When the crimes are in the book, so when there is a law in place, the first thing is you can go there. You can start and say, hey, this is a crime, I'd like to report a crime. And the second thing is that part of this project is capacity building. So we're having a meeting with the police, we're having a meeting with different stakeholders that are involved, and explain them something about it, explain them about this. They already know a lot about it. It's not that we start from zero, but we give them some inside information how to investigate crime. So police will be more aware of the situation. So when you go there, they won't start laughing, but they will actually help you.
Okay, all right, excellent. Well, thank you very, very much. It's nice to know that there's going to be some sort of protection. You say most things are being done online now, and there's no legislation, and we could be in a lot of trouble. So,
correct.
We appreciate the work that you're doing, and we look forward to hopefully having the legislation passed and some protection happening here in Grenada and the whole region. So thank you very much again.
Thank you very much.